What's up, y'all? It's your boy, Mr. Ness, and .E.S. Smooth for the boys, young boys, what it is, man. Where's my trappreneurs at? Shout out to all my trappreneurs grinding out there. Yo, I got a quick message I wanted to say, man. You know what I'm saying? A quick story, man. I had to go buy some ingredients. I was trying to make a good sancocho and shit, recover from the weekend, celebrate the Knicks win, go Knicks. So I kind of overdid it with the celebration. So whatever, I'm going over there and I see these dudes that I met out here. They always out there by the gas station. And so I said, what's up? Yo, what's good, y'all? Boom, boom, dap and everything. So whatever, we start politicking. And there's these youngins in there, little youngins and shit running around with them and shit in front of the store. And I'm hearing them talk, man. You know what I'm saying? And I'm hearing them talk and they starting to say, they telling the young boys, these little young white ends like, yo, you gotta do this, you know what I'm saying? When a mother disrespects you, you know what I'm saying? You gotta let them know what it is. You gotta draw the line right. And I get what they were saying because at one point I was in that stage, and you know what I'm saying, and I was that young boy. I was blessed enough to have good mentors, though, dudes in the streets that were street, but they would get in the bag and they were teaching me how to do things the right way, the smart way. You know, they say it was right to hold your ground and all, but you gotta, they taught me the right way. You gotta know what you're doing, and you gotta make sure everything, all your ducks are in place, and you got your stash money to break, and you better not have your spot where you're going in. And they used to always tell me, never grab the pistol, never go to that unless you got no more, no choice. Because once you do that, once you pull out the burn or the heat, you know what I'm saying, it's over. Your whole life changes in that moment. Everything is never be the same. And I put that in my head from a young age. So I learned that shit quick. Thank God for the men. I was blessed enough to find the right mentor. But these dudes, you know what I'm saying, they deep in their late 30s or 40s. So they talking to these young boys and they telling them, you gotta hold your ground. And then the other ones over there popping the bottle open. And he's putting the little young boys, passing them around and shit. And they talking about weed, they talking about drugs, they talking about this shit. And they are like, schooling them, but in the wrong path. And I felt sad. I was standing there and I wanted to say something, and I told one dude, like, yo, bro, I was shaking my head. He was shaking his head like, nah, man, I gotta go, man. So boom, I dived and I bounced. But it was putting all these young boys to a wrong path. They was putting them onto drugs, you know what I'm saying? They was talking about perks. They was talking about this, that, getting these youngins drinking. But, summertime, so they out there now. And he plugging them in, you know what I'm saying? And I just, in a way, it disgusted me, man. Because, I don't want to act like I'm some angel, you know what I'm saying? I did my dirt, you know what I'm saying? And, I did things I regret, and I did, but I learned. And I learned. And one thing I was blessed enough about my mentors, it was that they used to talk about the bag, getting to the bag, getting money. You know what I'm saying? That was like, you gotta get to the bag, or you gotta grind. I was, an artist, so my mentors would put me on how to grind, how to produce, even when I was in the street game, they showed me how to move, the right way. So it was the same thing with the music. When I found the OGs that were in the music before me, they plugged me and they put me on to the right. They showed me do this, do that, do this grind. So I was hitting the block, taking the money I was making, going straight, paying $600, $700 for a track, for a beat at that time. You know what I'm saying? I was unheard. I was going into major studios, paying my way into everything. You know what I'm saying? So I used my money that I did, in the streets, and I turned it into a business. I was putting it into building myself so I could get out. That was the path. They taught me young, do this shit to get out, because there's only two ways. There's three ways out of it. People say there's two, but it's three ways. Dead, locked up, and broke. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people hustle and end up broke at the end. Oh, we can't afford one. Now you can get deported. So let's throw that in there. But, you know what I'm saying? They put me on to get in. The point is to get in. But these young guys, right? Even back then when we was teaching it, when they was teaching kids how to be street, soldiers and shit, drugs, we sold the drugs. Like, they, not me. Not me. They taught them how to sell drugs, how to make the money, not to be users. Now these OGs are passing down, making these kids druggies, man, and making them shooters. You know what I'm saying? And they shooting, and it's a cloud that barely lasts, because what you pop in one day, yo, free my dog, but then motherfuckers move on with their life. You know what I'm saying? That little cloud don't last much, so you a killer now. You got a body, right? You did it for nothing. You ain't do it for paper. You ain't do it to change your life. It's wrong. Don't get me wrong. It's wrong to catch a body. It's wrong. You're going to have to answer to God and all of that. But you had to do it. You know what I'm saying? And you got caught up in some war, and it's just you and him. I get it. And you did it for the bag. I mean, whatever. You put some dirt in for the bag. You try, understandable to a certain extent. But you teaching these kids to be shooters, to do it for clout. They ruining their life. They're ruining their family's life. They're ruining the victim's life. We gotta start plugging in. We gotta be trapreneurs, man. We're trapreneurs, man. We gotta teach these kids to get out of the trap, to do it the right way. We're in a world now that you got the internet, you got a lot of tools, you got AI. We got to teach these youngins how to mess with the AI, how to do things, how to hustle for the bag, and we got to make getting to the bag popular again. You know what I'm saying? Getting to the bag, to creating ways for your family. I remember in my block back in the days, our dream was to get our parents out the hood, out the block. My mom used to work at a bar, and my dream was to get her out the bar. You understand what I'm saying? These kids, they ain't got no aspirations. They ain't got no goals. It's just catch a body. They're glorifying this white ant thing. We're glorifying them. We shouldn't, because these kids are crazy now. They ain't got no morals, no code, no principles. They're just out there just shooting and wilding just for clout, for a few seconds of fame on the internet or on the streets. But let me tell you something, like every murderer I knew in my life, and I knew a few, they get forgotten. Ain't nobody visiting you, bro. That cloud's gone. And when you get out, when you get older, I have a boy of mine that did a bid, did 25, came home for about it, and people look at him like he a monster now. He didn't get the same love he got back then. Now he's like, yo, that's a killer. And a lot of motherfuckers that do 20 years, 25, they come home different. Most worse. So let's teach these young boys how to be trapreneurs. Get out of the trap, man. Make something out of themselves. Use what they got, their images, their style, their aura, to make some money or to chase any kind of goals they got, any dreams. You know what I'm saying? I think that the street legend now is created in the internet. It's no longer got to be created out there. You know what I'm saying? It's a movie now. It's a movie. It's all entertainment. It's all content. So we need to create more OGs, like real mentors, man. Let's mentor these young boys to get to the bag, man, to get out the trap, to become trapreneurs. Let's stop brainwashing them to be killers, man, because this shit is getting out of hand, man. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to all my OGs out there really doing the work. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot in church passing down the word. There's a lot out there going to prisons. So I think I was watching. I follow Pistol P, from Kilo Rats, and he turned his story into his pain into a story where he's teaching. He's going to prisons to speak to the next generation. He's out there in the streets passing down the wisdom and knowledge. If you've been through shit and you've been to the gutter, even if you made mistakes and you fucked up, you got an obligation to pass down what you learned and pass it down to these youngest and tell them, like, look, I did it the wrong way. You could learn from me. You don't always learn from the person that did it the right way. You can learn a lot from the persons that made those mistakes, because they tell you, like, look, I went through it. Don't go that route. So you got an obligation. If you really love these streets, if you really love your community, and you rep where you from, then pass down that wisdom, that knowledge that you got, and pass it down to them youngins and them YNs, and teach them, like, yo, man, you want to be wild? Be wild for that bag, man. Go get to the bag. Do this the positive way. There's a lot of ways you get money nowadays, especially with the internet and the streaming and other social media. They don't got to do dumb shit. They could do some dope shit. You know what I'm saying? Show your aura. Show who you are. Your essence. Your life. Your flow. Your soul. People want that, man. People really interested in people's, we used to call it weirdness. That is a bad thing. But let me tell you something. The world needs more weirdness, more uniqueness. You know what I'm saying? Your weirdness is your uniqueness. So go out there and show who you are, man, and show the youngest the right way to do it, man. Or we are done. I mean, one more thing. These little youngins are doing this shit and posting it online, bro. Like, they now all they gotta do is watch the tape, the feds, and come get you. The police, 12 be watching you quick, go get you because you did the job for them. We used to try to, do shit under the fucking radar, bro. We ain't even talking phones. And y'all out here just giving them evidence, man. It's the easiest case. These motherfucking prosecutors are like 200-0, bro. All W's. Why? So wisen up, man. OGs, man, it's time to pass down the wisdom. Don't die with that wisdom in you. That's a crime. You got to pass it down. We've been doing that from the beginning of time, civilization. We used to sit by the fire and pass down stories. And that's how the next generation learned and knew what to do next. All right? Let's go, man. Your boy Ness, Trapreneur, Smooth Fellas, Yuck Life.